Hey, what's up, guys? Thank you so much for checking us out here in the OMFL. Again, if you're watching this video, then you've already looked at the new member quiz and all the other things that you've got going on. We're going to move over to our offensive FPR and cover that for you. Now, I've tried to break these up to make it super easy for you. If you haven't checked out the other videos, you want to start there, or if you're just brushing up, this is coming out before Madden 18, so even after you watch this video, you may want to just check it really quick just to make sure that there's no small changes that have happened since Madden 18 has come out. So let's just hop right into it. Here is your FPR. First, let's look at the new member quiz. Again, we take questions from every section of FPR. In this quiz, it's what's the 80-20 rule, what is not allowed on third downs, what is the ratio that you must not go beyond for run and for pass. So let's just jump right into the offensive FPR. This is the old video. This will go down as soon as this video is done. And we'll make sure that we get this out to everybody. Here's our offensive gameplay rules. Now, both offense and defense can be summed up in just a couple of sentences, but then we spell them out specifically for you. And here they are. Don't do anything excessively. Excessive is anything close to half of your total offense or defensive plays. So that means if you don't hot route excessively, if you don't call the same play excessively, if you don't throw to the same guy excessively, if you don't do anything. It's not confusing. It's not hard. If you don't do anything excessively, then you're going to be just fine here. You're not going to have to remember a whole lot of rules because that one rule helps keep everything else in line. And just doing things excessively, whether it's calling the same play, throwing to the same guy, calling the same hot routes, running the same play on third down excessively, anything like that should not be done excessively. And so we're going to break these down one by one. But you'll see exactly what we're talking about here. A couple of other little things. If a play breaks down, we allow you to do what you need to do. But I think an owner here, right, needs to run the play that they call. The occasional hot route, the occasional audible, the occasional cutback, that kind of thing is acceptable, but you also need to be okay and comfortable with taking a loss on a play, taking a loss on a drive, taking a loss in a game, and know that you're going to get another play, another drive, and another game. There's no reason to bend the rules and do things that are shady for sake of a win or not taking a loss. It's okay to punt. It's okay to take a loss. You're not going to end your Madden career because you took a loss. And so that's what we want guys to do. When it comes to like screens, all right, you shouldn't, just because you're blitzed, you should run that screen. You don't see quarterbacks throwing a fly route to a receiver on a called screen. It just doesn't happen. And so we expect you to either take the sack or run the screen. Either way, run the plays that you call. If you run the plays that you're called, where they're supposed to be called, and you don't do anything excessively, nothing else is really going to affect you at all. We just ask that you mix it up. Coming to us and saying, well, that's not technically in the rules, will not be a defense to anyone when they're talking about FPR. If there's an issue, we're going to tell you it's an issue, and you either want to make the adjustments that you need to make to be in part of our community, or we're just not going to be a fit for each other. And that doesn't make you right or wrong. It doesn't make us right or wrong. It just means it's not a fit, and it's A-okay. There are a ton of really great leagues out there, and I'm sure that we'll help you find one that'll be a good fit. Another thing is keep the thirst to a minimum. All right, when games get tight, when it's playoff games, when it's playoff drive, guys get thirsty to make plays. That's not the kind of league that we want to be. We expect owners to be okay with taking the losses and not let the thirst overcome you and be willing to play another season and another play. Here's the number one rule on offense, and that is that we are a no-switch league. This means when the ball is in the air, you're not allowed to switch. Not allowed to switch on offense or defense. You're not allowed to switch to the receiver. You're not allowed to switch as long as the ball is in the air. Once the play is complete, whether if it's a handoff, whether it's a throw, as soon as the player who the ball was going to has the ball, you're then allowed to switch and do what you must do to complete the play. Your receiver will automatically use the proper catch mechanic. This is why we tell you to build out players, and we do not allow you to switch to maneuver your guy and to manually catch. We want to see you build your guys up. Excuse me, it's my 10th video of the day, so my voice is shot. We expect you to build your guys up and not continue to lean on things that are not equal to the attributes. So, neither coach is to touch a button while the ball is in the air. It's a dead zone. Once the ball has been caught or dropped, then you can take over and do what you have to do. If the ball is being tipped, then either coach is allowed to switch. We need to change this. Of course, we did change it later on. You see it. But if the ball is tipped, if the ball is dropped, if the ball is in the air, you are allowed to switch and to go after the ball. We expect owners, again, to run the play that you called. If you called a sweep to the right, you shouldn't be going to the left as soon as you get the ball. If you call an up-the-middle run, you shouldn't be running immediately outside as soon as you get the ball. If you call a screen, you shouldn't be throwing the flat. Again, you expect it to run the play that you're called and not trying to tweak the game to do something that is not inside the strategic gameplay that we're looking for. Here's some quarterback don'ts. Don't manually sprint out of the pocket with the quarterback as soon as you snap the ball. Don't really see that a whole lot anymore, but it was a rule that's there. Don't drop back beyond 10 yards. Quarterback sneak is completely banned. Again, we may look at that in Madden 18, so make sure you look at the rules, but as of right now, it's just an easy automatic touchdown if you're on the goal line, and it's just not realistic, so we ban it. Passing after you're outside the numbers. And so if you scramble and you get outside the numbers or you get to the numbers, the big numbers on each hash, you must throw the ball away, you must slide, you must run. You're not allowed to throw. So what happens is guys sprint out to the numbers, the DBs or the linebackers pull off of their receiver to now come after the quarterback, leaves a very wide open player. It's not strategic, it's lame, so don't do it. Here in the OMFL, we have 80-20 FPR rule, which means the number one halfback should get no more than 80% of your carries. At the end of the day, fatigue has never really worked the way we wanted it to, and so we have to force guys to use their backup players. For every 4 carries that your starting running back gets, you need to sub somebody in to get another carry. At the end of your game, we will be looking at the 80-20 rule. This is easy. It can be done with the formation sub R1. You can sub your starter right back in after the backup has it, but just don't run one running back the entire game. Split those carries up between your backup running backs. When you're outside of the tackle, so outside of your 2 tackle, those runs must be 50-50 from inside. We don't want guys just running outside or just running inside. Mix those up. If you run a lot of tosses and sweeps and counters, make sure you mix that in with some dives and some up-the-gut runs. Make sure you get in between those tackles. We expect the runs to be 50-50 or as close to that, all right? We're not, again, trying to find small, minor things, but we also don't want 75% of your runs to be outside runs. We also, we'll get to that here in a second. No cutbacks immediately after receiving the ball from the quarterback. If they beat you and they're in the backfield as soon as you get the ball, take the loss. It's okay. You'll get another play. They beat you. Chalk it up for a win. Move on to the next play. No immediately taking the ball from the quarterback and having a cutback. We should keep cutbacks to a minimum. They are allowed, but most of the time we expect you to run the play where it's designed to go. Again, excessive. Remember that word. Remember what that means. Nothing close to 50% of your plays. If you do a cutback, it should not be immediately after you receive the ball. And cutbacks can be performed left of center and right of center, or from the right to the center or from the left to the center, which means if I'm calling a sweep to the right, I'm never allowed to cut it back all the way to the left, but I am allowed, if it's blown up, to cut it back to the center. So halfway, I'm allowed to go anywhere in there. If I'm calling a dive to the left, I'm not allowed to take the ball immediately to the right and go off the right tackle or go off the right guard. If it's called to the left, I'm allowed to go to the center or I'm allowed to go to the left tackle, anywhere in that halfway mark. Again, we're not picking out rulers, and we're just not going to do that. If you're that type of player, we're just going to say this didn't work and we're going to part ways or don't even apply. Just trying to keep this realistic, all right? And that is going to be realistic. Again, center to left, center to right are allowed as long as there's no horizontal running. Horizontal means running parallel with the lines on the field. That's not allowed. Backwards running is never allowed. No parallel running, no taking the ball, running straight parallel, sprinting until your guys, the defensive guys, take a bad angle. And now because they took a bad angle, because they're computer-controlled players, you can now get around the corner. That's not allowed. Keep it moving forward. You're never allowed to go backwards. It's just not allowed. Again, it sucks in the defense because it's AI. It takes bad angles. If you have enough speed, you're allowed to get around. We're just not looking to do that. Shotgun runs are no more than 50% of your runs. Honestly, I don't even want to see them get that high. What we're seeing guys do is they will run their up-the-middle runs out of shotgun. They'll run their tosses and sweeps out of normal formations. Again, frowned upon, not allowed. Don't do it. Shotgun runs are going to be easier. It has just always been that way. There's a flaw. There's massive gaping holes when you run out of shotgun. So we're not looking to see you do that no matter what you do. The answer to that would be to blitz. And now we have no fun game because all your runs are coming out of shotgun. All the plays on defense are blitzes. It's just not fun. That's not who we are. That's not what we're trying to be. No more than 25% of the passes in a game can be screen passes, either tight end, fullback, halfback, receiver. All right, we just don't want you running 15 screens a game. Keep that to, 4 or less, or, 25%. Do the math, figure it out. Play action passes should not exceed 30%. That's actually higher than NFL numbers. All right. Again, we just don't want to see every pass become a play action pass. Set it up. Use it when it's proper. Don't be excessive. You'll be fine. You should never use play action greater than 10 yards or more. No one in the NFL is biting on a 3rd and 15 play action. But in this game, they will. Don't run a play action 10 yards or more. We've talked about parallel running. Just don't do it. Talked about backwards running. Don't do it. Fullback dive. Again, we'll look at this in Madden 18. But so far, it is banned outside of the 20-yard line. So once you get into the red zone, or inside, I should say, the 20-yard line, once you enter the red zone, you're not allowed to use fullback dive. It's overpowered. Receivers, tight ends, halfbacks. As a strategic league, we ask that the receiver be the number one target on a majority of plays. This doesn't mean that you can't use your tight ends, your fullbacks, your halfbacks. I just don't want to see those guys leading your team by 20, 30 receptions at the end of the season or leading every game because they've got 15 catches. That a receiver should be your number one target. You are allowed to use the other guys, but mix it up. Make sure that you're being strategic with it. Coach suggestion play calling is banned from the league. You must call your own plays, learn your own playbook. I'm sorry if that doesn't fit, but you need to call your own plays, not let Madden do that for you. Use of the same type of play every 3rd down is not allowed. Don't go to the same play because you know that it works. Don't start calling verticals. Don't start calling, oh, I know this play in 3rd and long works every 3rd and long, so every 3rd and long that game, that's what you're calling. Don't do it. Again, no play action on 3rd and long. You are allowed up to 3 hot routes or 1 audible per play on offense. This could be slides. This could be fake hot routing. This could be changes. Anything that makes your quarterback bark, you're allowed 3 of those per play. This doesn't mean that you're allowed 3 per every play. Again, go back to excessive. Run the plays that are called in your playbook or change your playbook. This is not sketch your own play when you get to the line. You're allowed audibles and hot routes from time to time, but it's not allowed every play, and you're only allowed 3 whenever you do it. If you make an audible and there are massive changes, allow the defense to get set before you snap the ball. It's lame to do it if they're not set. Teams must use some form of pro set of offense. This means like I form, pro form, weak, near, even double tight end formations will agree to be 11 personnel, they call that, to be in it. We're just not looking for 3 receiver offenses, shotgun offenses, 4 wide receiver offenses, or really, though you'll probably never see this, any type of big formation-only offenses. You are allowed to use those plays. You're not allowed to use those plays excessively. A majority of your plays need to come out of a pro set. Again, fullback dive is banned when you're inside the 20. Vertical plays with 3 or more vertical routes. So 3 players running a vertical route or more are banned outside of 2 minutes of each half. This is only allowed on the last play of the game. If you call the last play of the game, the last couple of plays for Hail Mary situations, you're allowed to do it. But outside of that, don't run these plays. They're lame. Once you enter the last 2 minutes, you can use them. Don't do it excessively. All right? If it's not the last 2 minutes, don't run them. They're lame. Manually motioning a player and snapping the ball before they're set is banned. This gives you an extra blocker. It tricks the AI. Again, it's lame. Your run-pass ratio should not go over 70-30 in either direction. We understand that some games you're getting blown out and you have to do that kind of thing, but we're asking that teams run the ball and pass the ball if you're a running team. Mix it up. Keep that below 70-30 in either direction. When you're losing, do what you have to do, but overall, that's what we're looking for. The play clock is never allowed to be run down all the way, except for the last 3 minutes of each half. Fourth down rule. Again, disconnect and fourth down rule can be found in the chat. So even if you don't have time to come find this, you can easily type in the code and find it in the chat. You're allowed to go for it on fourth down in these situations. 4th and 2 or less in your opponent's territory. This could be any time during the game, any score, whatever. Any distance when losing by 20 points, losing in the fourth quarter, or losing in overtime. In all other fourth down situations that those two don't find, you have to punt or kick the field goal. Fake punt or field goal can only be used when it's acceptable to go for it in fourth down. That's all you're allowed to use. Onside kicks are only permitted to use by the losing team in the fourth quarter only. No huddle can only be used in the last 2 minutes of either half, when losing by 14 points in the second half, by losing in the fourth quarter by any amount. But when you run it, please allow the defense to get set and even make some adjustments. You know, especially if you're running a no huddle in the last 2 minutes or whatever, just don't be lame with it. Don't try to catch them out of position. Give them a chance to get set. If a player is en route to cover a defender, allow them to get over there and cover that defender before you snap the ball. You must let the defense get set. Just don't try to be cheap and pick up cheap penalties. The gray area, this is the area we talked about a while ago, that we need to change that one rule, but it is listed here. When a ball touches a receiver or a defensive back's hands or a linebacker or anything, if the ball is bounced in the air, then you may switch to make the play just as long as it is after the ball has been deflected and popped in the air. So that's a look at our FPR. That's why we kind of have these rules. Make sure that you check out the rest of our FPR videos, and we'll get you all approved and get you in here. Thanks for listening.